A statement that has always haunted me has been two things can be true at once. To me, this always blew my mind because two different things being related just seemed too out of the possibility of thought. One of these dichotomies is nature versus nurture. And as somebody who has studied a lot of psychology and has been in a bunch of psychology classes, this topic has always came up in some sort of discussion, no matter kind of what we were doing. Now, a lot of people tend to either be in camp nature or nurture, hence the verses. But a lot of evidence shows that they are actually very much interlinked, and it's really interesting. And I'm really excited to talk about this because it is so much of a passion for me. So let's get into it. Now, what is nature versus nurture? In the most layman terms, it's the theory that either our biology, our nature, affects us and our behavior and growth more than our nurture, which is our experiences and the people that kind of shape us, and vice versa. Now, a lot of people tend to be in either camp, and as I've said before, both concepts interact with each other in order to make us into the human beings that we are today. Now, according to Robert O. Wright, who authored a book on individual experiences and environmental effects on development, this theory originated in the mid-1800s by Francis Galton. Quote, nature versus nurture was first coined in the mid-1800s by an English statistician, Francis Galton. Interestingly, he was Charles Darwin's cousin, while writing about the influence of genetics and environment on intelligence, end quote. However, the original theory has been marked as outdated, but as we've gone along and made more progressions in the healthcare field and through psychology, the theory has kind of morphed and evolved with us. From humble beginnings, this theory cannot catch a break, but what if the answer was much more simple? What if both of them are more important? The issue with nature versus nurture is that it is never an interlocking of both ideas. It's just one versus the other. But there are many that believe this idea and that both are integral to our growth and development as human beings. Quote, as Martyr emphasized, we cannot simply assume that gene X produces behavior Y. Instead, as Bialik described, there are often many additional factors that directly and indirectly interact with gene X and ultimately variance in behavior. These variants define individuality, end quote. This quote comes from a workshop study done by many participants interested in both psychology and neurobiology, which often go hand in hand. The author states that genetics, or nature, alone cannot produce or determine the outcome of one's behaviors, but that there are many influential factors, or nurture, that can affect the person along with those genetics. Now, why is nature versus nurture important to psychology? Well, this idea is often very discussed within the psychology community because it is a backbone of all psychological discussions. Whether or not it's nature, nurture, both, neither, all of these discussions impact growth and development. Quote, the nature versus nurture debate in psychology concerns the relative importance of an individual's innate qualities, our nature, versus personal experiences, nurture, in determining or causing individual differences in physical and behavioral traits, end quote. As the quote states, it's an important discussion as it holds the answers to certain behaviors within psychology that we can use to further investigate human behavior. Again, a building block. What does this, can we expand on it, and how does it work? By determining whether it's nature or nurture, we can follow the path to forming new ideas and theories. Now, overall, nature versus nurture is a very complex theory that has multiple different discussions surrounding it. But with its history, its evolutions, and everything in between, we can learn a lot from it, and simply viewing it as one versus the other is just very simple-minded, as it's very much an interlinking of both that really causes us to be ourselves. And even then, it's even more than that too. It's very complex, and I hope I've done a good job of trying to explain it so that maybe more people can get more interested within this because I really find it interesting, and I think if more people knew about it, they'd be as interested as I am. Well, thank you for listening.